And welcome to another edition of Ducks Know Sports. This week we are previewing the Eastern Conference in the CFL. Of course, CFL season right around the corner. In a couple weeks, all get started. Preseason games start this week, so no better time than to start talking about the CFL. And in this video, we're going to talk about the CFL East. And very interesting division with defending Grey Cup champions in this division. That's where we'll start with your Toronto Argonauts. As, let's face it, last year, Toronto Argonauts, in all season, maybe not the best team in the CFL, but when it mattered the most, this team caught fire, and just the second half of the season, this team was just lights out. Toronto Argonauts, very, very interesting last year, bringing in Ray, new coach. Would it all start? I had my doubts. I remember saying before last year that I thought there would be a few growing pains last year. I didn't think they would be a Grey Cup contender last year, but they proved me wrong. As Toronto Argonauts, very, very good team. I mean, a team who plays solid defense. Ricky Ray makes enough plays to win games and can run the football. Very, very interesting team. And can they do it again? That has to be the biggest question. Can the Toronto Argonauts do it again? I say, why not? I mean, you look at this team from top to bottom, they probably are the most complete team in the East. I mean, Ricky Ray still on top of his game. Great coaching staff, a defense that gets after the passer. No Foley this year. Ricky Foley has moved on to the Rough Riders, but I still think they'll make enough plays on defense to still get to the passer. That's what the Toronto Argonauts do best in all the CFL East. They get after the passer, just very, very well-coached team. And Ricky Ray, maybe not the best receivers. That's maybe the one doubt about this team. Maybe not the best receivers, but they're starting to bring a few new guys in. And if Ricky Ray can get done with the bums he's playing with this year, he had a few more weapons in the offseason, I say the Toronto Argonauts are in for a huge 2013 in the CFL East. All right, moving on to our next team, the Montreal Alouettes. Of course, big news in the offseason, Mark Trestman going to the NFL, new head coach of the Chicago Bears. Interesting how that works, but we'll talk about that more in my NFL previews of the NFC North. Of course, that's later in the summer. Talking Montreal Alouettes. New coach, Dan Hawkins from college football. Very interesting hire, as of course, a few years ago, the same thing with Trestman. But I think that's a different circumstances now. I mean, you had Anthony Calvillo still in his prime. Anthony Calvillo, still good. Not saying he's still, my money, still probably top 3 QB in the CFL, but not the quite dominance that you can. I mean, let's face it, Anthony Calvillo has, let's say, a year, maybe 2 years max in the CFL. I mean, not much. And you look at this team, they're just getting older and older, and I don't see this team as a Grey Cup favorite anymore. I don't see this team. Can they still get the Grey Cup? Yes. But are they locked down, hands down, best team East anymore? No, that ship has sailed. I mean, you look at this team, there are holes across the board. I mean, defense, an all-right defense, but not great. An offensive line who seems to give a lot more sacks than they did a couple years ago. A QB getting older. Outside on the receivers, not great. They have a few good receivers, but not that great receivers, as Jamal Richardson is getting older in age. Running game wasn't really a factor at all last year with Whitner going down mid-season. And you just look at across the board, this team is getting older and older. And will it be a pushover? No, I still think Montreal will not lay down for anyone. But are they the same dominant team as they were a couple years ago? No, they're not that. And how will 2013 go? I really believe this is the year. The year finally the Montreal Alouettes, they will show their age, they'll show their holes, and they'll come back to the pack a little. They'll still be a playoff team, but they won't be that dominant CFL team that we've seen over the last couple of really decade and a half. I mean, what a run by Jim Pop, But I just think with a new coach, not really knowing the Canadian game, we'll have to adjust on the fly. Assistant coach will be huge in this, getting to him up on speed on the CFL game. But I think in 2013 we're in for a long year in Montreal. Moving to our next team, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who, of course, a couple years ago, go to the Grey Cup. Everything's looking up. And then last year, man, did they hit a wall or did they hit a wall? I mean, going from basically first in the East to almost last in the East. You know, a dominant defense 2 years ago. Last year, not so much. You know, coaching change mid-season. Their starting QB can't stay healthy. And that's where we'll start. I think a big question around this team this year has to be their QB. I mean, getting rid of Elliott and Brink in the offseason were very surprised me. I didn't think they would do that as a little assurance for Buck Pierce, who just seems to can't stay on the field. You know, Buck Pierce is a warrior, no doubt. But a guy who has question marks, you know, health. You know, it's always a question is, will his next hit be his last hit? As every time I fear this guy slides down and takes a big hit, I'm afraid he's not going to get up. And he's just one of these guys, kind of like a Brett Favre. Like, I was always afraid Brett Favre was going to die on the field one day. And that's what I feel about Buck Pierce. You know, great quarterback. I'll give us props over the years. Great QB, but he's just not that guy anymore. And to have no insurance on this guy is just madness to me. But that being said, though, I believe the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, late in the season last year, showed glimpses that they can go back to being that dominant team they were a couple years ago. You know, 2 years ago, what got them to the Grey Cup? Playing dominant defense and running the football, and with a QB who I don't really want to see taking a lot of big hits. That's how they have to play this year. They have to get back to playing tough defense and running the football, and I think that's what they'll do. They'll get back. If they can establish the running game early in the season, watch out, because they may be a dark horse to win the Grey Cup, in my opinion. I mean, with a defense who, you know, when Tim Burke became the head coach last year, you said their defense started to get rolling a little. And, you know, if their offense can come along, no, their offense doesn't need to score much. Let's be honest, when you have a defense that can be as dominant as the Blue Bombers can be, give me 20 points and you could be good. And that would say a lot for this squad because, you know, they struggled in the red zone, anywhere in the field it seemed like to score points. And it will be interesting, but I expect the Blue Bombers have a bounce-back season. But will it be a playoff team? I think they will be a playoff team. But the Winnipeg Blue Bombers could be, if everything goes according to plan, if they can run the football, get back to a strong defense, if Tim Burke continues to motivate these guys, get the most out of it, the Blue Bombers could be a dark horse to win it all in November. And last but certainly least, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who last year had Grey Cup hopes, and boy did they come up short by being the worst team in the CFL. You know, let's start with this. Where do you start with this team? It's just a mess. Right now we talk about the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I mean, you got, let's see, their best player, Chris Williams, holding out. Not because he wants more money, because he does want to be part of the team. Well, that's always good. You got a team not playing in Hamilton this year. Of course, the stadium, they'll be playing in Guelph. New coach, meaning probably a rough year. As new coach come in, maybe establishing a new style of play. And you got a QB situation on your hands. Let's start with the QB situation. Watching some CFL preseason last night, Dan Lefebvre's really impressed me. I really think if the Hamilton Tiger Cats want to be good this year, I think they got to start Dan Lefebvre's. I mean, let's face the facts. If Ken Austin thinks starting a 40-plus-year-old at QB and Henry Burris is going to win you a championship, then he's out of his goddamn mind. I mean, let's be honest. Henry Burris, to me, has always been an overrated guy in the CFL. Does he have some talent? Yes. I'm not saying the guy can't play. But is he that number one guy that's going to lead you to the Grey Cup? No, he's just not that guy. He was never that guy in Calgary. I believe they won a Grey Cup despite Henry Burris, not because of Henry Burris. And you really saw a couple years ago when he got benched and really showed his unclassiness when Drew Tate got the job. You know, very, very a guy who clearly wasn't happy for Drew Tate, wasn't going to help Drew Tate develop at all. Very smart move by the Sam Peters getting rid of Burris. And I just think, you know, if the Hamilton Tiger Cats want a shot this year, they got to start Dan Lefebvre's. He's young, he's brash, and you look around the CFL, all the best QBs seem to be young. I mean, Lule, Drew Tate, they all seem to be a little young. So maybe that's how you got to do it now in the CFL, get a young QB. And I think Dan Lefevre, who tore up the MAC in college and broke a record, made the guy named Ben Roethlisberger, of course, plays on the Steelers, shattered all his records. Hamilton Tiger Cats want a shot this year. They got to start with him. And, of course, the elephant in the room is Chris Williams. Will he be on the team? If I'm the Hamilton Tiger Cats, I just cut my losses. I just cut him. Like, what's the big deal? Yes, I know he scored all those touchdowns last year, but that didn't really get you far last year, so what's the point? And if I'm the Hamilton Tiger Cats, I just cut Chris Williams, cut my losses, I move on. But all being said, though, I don't see anything positive about the Hamilton Tiger Cats right now. I can't see them any iota. I can't see them getting, 4 wins this year. I can't see them a Grey Cup in their future. I don't think so. They are probably the farthest away in any CFL team right now. And 2013, sorry, Tiger Cats Nation, but it's going to be a long, long, long year in Guelph. Now, with all the team previews out of the way, now I'll give you how I think the East will be ranked this year. We'll start from the bottom. Clearly, just watching the Hamilton Tiger Cats preview, clearly Hamilton will be last. And trust me, that'll be undisputed, I think. I don't think anybody come near Hamilton this year. Hamilton Tiger Cats last in the East this year. Third, I believe will be the Montreal Alouettes. I think they will fall off a little bit. I think they'll fall down to third. Number 2, I think will be the Blue Bombers. And number 1, you got to go with the champs, right? Toronto Argonauts go back and be the number 1 team in the East this year. So that's my preview on the East. My next video on the CFL will be on the West. Should be interesting with a lot of interesting moves in the West. And maybe a team in Regina going to the Grey Cup. Maybe. But till next time, I'm Eric Duxter saying I'm Dux, and I know sports. Kind of.